Hi out there. So, quick update from right here in the classroom. My first video update from the classroom. You can see the quotes up there on the wall, and yeah, this is the environment where this textbook project of mine is really unfolding. And I'm 3 days in now to using this example chapter that the students all have copies of, and 3 days in now of using this material, and yeah, I mean, what else can I say other than it's going really well. The nice thing about this kind of 3 day in mark in a week of this module is that I'm really starting to see a lot of the analysis kind of click and come together, where the material of the previous 2 days, there's a lot of opportunities for the students to make some really important cross connections across different points of analysis. So after reading the article from First Things and hearing the research from Jonathan Haidt about the foundations of the moral mind, what I really found was tight and satisfying was the students able to are more able to draw on previous points of analysis from the article about politics and identity, and the Last Psychiatrist article about the lack of formality, and then apply it to this bizarre clown world dynamic where a leftist kind of modern push against three of those channels in the moral mind, a kind of a rejection of in-group loyalty, a rejection of authority respect, a rejection of purity sanctity, leads to this Hieronymus Bosch hellish chaos and incoherent disharmony and confusion, and an inability of people to relate to one another in a meaningful way. And that really clicked this hour. It clicked so well that honestly I'm gonna have to find another way to kind of reapproach this particular chapter, because I was kind of running out of time to get to everything that I had planned. Like, we got through a good way of looking at like how are we seeing specific phenomena of what happens when you kind of push down those channels of the moral mind. They don't just disappear, they're part of human nature, so they just like get pushed off into weird places, and then they crop up in these weird scenarios where, Whole Foods is putting up signs where don't cut your bread here because it touches non-organic bread, and then your purity of your bread will be compromised, and all these other really weird twisted ways that this human desire to identify and attend to these features of morality and how to act on yourself and act on others and the world, they don't just vanish, they just go into really weird places. And the students had such a good time like pulling these apart and asking like, what the hell is going on with this? And that's the great thing about being 3 days in, is I think I can report too that like the analysis is there, the ability to like take some of these concepts and start applying them to phenomena that are specific and that we see and that don't make any sense because modernity is a mess. It's really starting to be something that they can grasp. So in the class, I've got 3 different groups at 3 different tables, and to varying degrees of ability, they were all able to kind of pick up on that line of reasoning and start applying it to scenarios, and ask some really tough questions about modernity and life in a modern Anglophone country and society, and when words like freedom get used, and liberation, and kind of a rejection of tradition and social norms, and replacing those with this kind of modern relativistic chaos. An ability to step back and look at it really critically and say, wait, like, we didn't sign up for this. What's going on? This is upside down. How did we get? Like, one of the best questions that came today was from someone who, during the Jonathan Haidt video, when Jonathan Haidt kind of polls his audience and says, how many of you out there are politically on the left of center? This student, unbidden, because it was on the TV, he raised his own hand as identifying on the left, and I could confirm that from the way he engages in other discussions too. He was asking, by the end of the 3rd hour, how did we get here and how do we fix it? And that just made it click that I'm pulling together some ideas here that really are working, and like I said before, I've been using these materials as such in the years leading up to this. But by putting it in a book, and I think this is where I want to wrap up, by putting it in a book, I think I found a way to, it pins a lot of things down, right? And I'm kind of all over the place and like, oh, I've got an idea here. Oh, this just came up, and so I'll use this as an example. And that's great to be flexible that way. But I think what I found here is something I was afraid of is, well, once I pin things down on the page, right? So this particular quote or this particular example, like what's going to be like if actually the conversation is going in another direction and I want to kind of meet them where they are. And I might have kind of overplayed that fear of being kind of locked down to this as a limiting factor. In fact, what it's done is it's let me kind of lift my attention away from constantly having to get things up on the computer screen up here and like find something. And instead of scrambling so much, I've got more attention that I can give to where the direction of the conversation is really going. And that thing about like meeting them where they are, like where's their curiosity, their interest, their attention taking them in the analysis, I'm actually better able to meet them there than when I was just kind of playing fast and loose and like, okay, what link do I have that would be an example to help pin down what they're saying and what they're kind of probing at to a specific case in like the world out there. I shouldn't have been as worried about that as I was, and that's a really great development. I think that in fact this provides a really good foundation and frees up a bunch of my energy and attention from the teacher's role to actually catch different lines of inquiry where they are and support them more effectively. So Wednesday, good hump day. This is working well. More updates to come. Cheers.